everyone, and welcome to the Guy Dawson Show at inblv.tv. My name is Guy Dawson, and I'm the managing member of Classic Communications, a full-service public relations and advertising company. And I am thrilled beyond words to be interviewing a good friend of mine. Her name is Adah Kennon, and she is the author of a wonderful book called Patient or Profit, Where is the Love? And this is a book that has an impact on people at so many levels, particularly veterans, although there are so many other people that can also benefit from reading this book. And welcome, Dr. Adah Kennon, to the Guy Dawson Show.
Well, thank you, Guy, for having me on your show. Been looking forward to it.
And Adah and I are working together. I'm representing her as a public relations person, and we've been really helping her to get the word out about this book. Tell us what it is all about.
Well, Guy, my book is a book about love, courage, commitment, and betrayal. It's the story of the struggle that my husband and I had to get him access to life-saving prescription medication that was denied him by what I call the chaos cohorts. And the chaos cohorts are a group of entities, 4 entities: the federal government, the healthcare industry, the biopharmaceutical company, and also wholesale distributors. Now, he's an Army veteran. He has 2 federal insurance company plans, and he was denied access to this medication. So that's what this book is about. It's about our journey. I'm his caregiver, and luckily I have been permitted to go on this journey with him so I could document what it was like for us to have to go through this struggle, and to share some words of wisdom in the book so that hopefully no one else will have to go through what we went through.
Yeah. Adah's husband is a World War II veteran, a Korean War veteran, and I know we've talked about thinking back in the late 1940s when you signed up to be in the military, and 31 years of service?
31 years of service, active duty, and also as a civilian in the Pentagon and in charge of the Army computer systems. And this is what happened to him in his hour of need. Now that he's a kidney dialysis patient, he was basically kicked to the curb. Now, I can imagine what that must be like for a soldier, now veteran. That's like a slap in the face. That's rewarding service, honor, and sacrifice with betrayal. And it's just horrendous. He's not the only one. You know, when he signed up back in 1948, he was 18. And at that point in time, a lot of men and women went into the service thinking that they were going to get free medical care for themselves and for their dependents for the rest of their lives if they served honorably and retired with distinction. He did that. He did that. But to find out that he was being used as a pawn by this government to fulfill their agenda was just horrendous. And it's still going on. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. We the people need to turn that around, because this is what's happening to us, and that's why so many people are dying. And that's what my book tries to get across to people. We can be in control of our own futures. We can write that agenda, but we have to stop believing and following with blind trust what it is that they say that they're going to do for us, because we're being used, we're being used, we're being abused. It takes legislative action to do that, and this book outlines a strategy for people to use in order to turn these things around so that we become the love of this country rather than the what they want to have happen for them, which is to satisfy their profit margins. And they're purely concerned with profit, not patience.
And in the book you talk about prior authorization specifically as being the real culprit in the whole process. Can you explain what prior authorization is and why it is part of the problem?
Prior authorization is basically a decision. It's a decision that's made by bureaucrats who don't necessarily know you, have no familiarity with you as a human being, but they're making decisions about what is a medical necessity, be that a treatment or a service or a drug or a prescription or medical equipment. Okay? And those decisions are made before you can get access to those kinds of things. And they're made not necessarily by the physician who writes the prescription and who says that these things are necessary for you. That's dangerous. That's dangerous because they don't know you. They don't know the particulars of your case. And they've given the health insurance companies basically unlimited control over life and death issues. Now, the other thing about prior authorization is that there are certain physicians that the health insurance companies claim as being specialists and that are on an approval list that they will approve, okay, to write these prescriptions for you. If your prescribing doctor is not on that list, okay, you may not get access to what you need in order to save your life or at least to give you a good quality of life. And people don't know that. So it's not your doctor who is in power, it's the health insurance company that's in power. And the other thing is that the insurance company is not necessarily concerned with health care. We found that out the hard way. Now, people are paying for things that, over years, paying for things that they think are going to be there for them in their time of need. Okay? That's not necessarily true. People don't read the fine print in their insurance plans. And this is a danger. And that's what this book speaks to. It tells people that you need to read the fine print because prior authorization creates barriers between you, the patient, and what you need to survive.
And I know that you and I have talked about what the scope of this book is really about, being armed and prepared for what you might encounter. As we all know, healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry it's a topic that affects all of us as people, not just people in the military, specifically your husband because he served, and you would think that a veteran of all people, someone who served for that length of time and gave that type of commitment to our country, would certainly never have to worry about healthcare again. But this affects more than just people who are veterans or in the military.
Yes, this is a book for everyone. You know, our country just experienced a government shutdown. Now, can you imagine what it would have been like to have been one of those 800,000 federal workers or contract workers who thought that they got recovered by benefits, including health benefits, and if one of them, God forbid, got sick and then found out that what they thought they paid for and were due wasn't going to come to them when they're in the position of having to budget now because of no pay. I mean, this is a terrible situation. This is what you were saying, you know, in this day and age, the unexpected can happen to any one of us. At any point in time, you can become a caregiver or you can become a patient. I like to say that we are in the eye of a hurricane. And when you are in the eye of the hurricane, the time is not to plan when the hurricane hits. The time is to plan during the calm periods, okay, when you can think logically and rationally. And this is what a lot of people aren't doing. But yes, this applies to everyone, and it crosses all political parties. It crosses all racial or ethnic backgrounds. It crosses all socioeconomic status. Gender is not even a consideration. Anyone, as long as you're an American, can be hit by these barriers that are created by prior authorization.
Adah, we're going to take a short break to honor our sponsors, and when we come back, I want to talk more about what you personally have endured and your motivation behind writing the book. And I mean, I can just imagine a person doesn't just wake up one day and decide that they're going to write an instruction manual for people who are having to deal with difficulties related to the government and the healthcare industry. So I want to touch on that when we come back in a few minutes. Stay tuned for more of The Guy Dawson Show at inblv.tv. See you soon. You are watching The Guy Dawson Show at inblv.tv, and I have been speaking with Dr. Adah Kennon. She is the author of Patient or Profit, Where is the Love? And this is a somewhat controversial book that was born out of some experiences that she had with her husband and the healthcare industry and the doctors and the government. And when you write a book like this, Adah, I'm sure you didn't just wake up one day and say, okay, now I'm going to write this extremely controversial book about the things that are happening with the pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry, and the government. What was the state of mind that you were in that led you to want to write this book?
Well, Guy, this is a book that I never thought I would have to write in my life because I'd never had any experience with anyone who had kidney disease, was on dialysis. I'm not on dialysis. No one in my family had it. But my husband has it now, and he's on dialysis and diagnosed with end-stage renal disease. You know, chronic kidney disease, there are 5 levels going from mild to end stage. When you get to end stage, you're talking about dialysis or you're talking about a transplant, okay? And that's where he is now. Transplant is a consideration of how old you are, and because he's over that age limit, he will be on dialysis for the rest of his life. But the thing that motivated me to write this was because I was angry. I was angry at the federal government. I was angry at the healthcare industry. You know, he's been made a victim of medical experimentation, okay? The healthcare industry for all these years led us to believe that what we were paying for was going to be there and have our backs in our hour of need, and that was a lie, okay? And to find out this in his hour of need, it was just overwhelming for me. My husband saw what I was going through, and he said, look, why don't you channel your feelings in a positive and productive way by writing a book? I said, well, okay, I might be pretty good at that, seeing as how I have an extensive educational background and credentials. And I told him I would only do that if you would collaborate with me, because you, as a military person, have the background in that area that I don't have. I'm your caregiver, and together I think we can make one heck of a production. And because he consented to do that, this book came about. And I'll also have to say, Guy, that I believe that there was a spiritual component of this too. Because this book, the way that it was produced, the message that it has is much greater than what I, as an individual, would ever be expected to do. So I give all propers to my mother, father, God, okay, and everyone who was there to lead me in the right direction, to write the things that were written in here and to put it together in a way that which it was written.
And there really is a big component of this book that's about being proactive, and
Yes.
it's really about we as the people coming together to protect ourselves and to really have an understanding of the things that are happening. And you talk a lot in that book about it being a guide, literally a guide for a person who could encounter situations like you portray in this book. What are some of the key things that you would recommend to a person if they're dealing with a situation that's similar to what you've experienced?
Well, Guy, this book is an empowerment tool and a survival guide, okay? It's also a guide for anyone who is concerned with how to go about problem solving, because this was one heck of a problem that we had to solve. How to get him access to the only life-saving medication in the world that would control a medical condition which, if left uncontrolled, would kill him. Okay? So that was a pretty big problem that we encountered and we had to overcome. This book includes a formula for success. And there are several pointers here that anyone who reads the book and follows the book will be impressed with and taught to use in order to overcome difficulties like this. One of the biggest things that we found in our journey was that sometimes things don't turn out the way in which you think they ought to turn out, but they turn out for your betterment and for the good. Okay? And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I was thinking, well, I'll do all this work, you know, we'll follow steps A, B, and C, it'll be resolved, and we can move on from here. No, that wasn't the case. I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but one of the things that we had to do was to actually call upon one of the members of the chaos cohorts involved in the federal government, and that was our congressman. Because we weren't getting anywhere, doing all the kinds of things that we needed to do. The doctor who prescribed the medication wasn't getting anywhere because the chaos courts decided that his opinion wasn't worth anything because he wasn't on their approved list of specialists. Okay? And so he was kind of left out in the cold. And since we'd never encountered anything like this, I said, well, maybe maybe, this might work. So we called on our congressman to get involved. The congressman wasn't even able to get anywhere with this. And we ended up getting involved in the bureaucracy of paperwork. So luckily, we were able to get the medication. We were able to get the medication in a very peculiar kind of way. And he's alive today and doing well. But it wasn't because of anything that the healthcare industry offered us. It wasn't because of anything that the federal government offered us. It wasn't anything that the wholesale distributors offered us. And it wasn't anything that biopharmaceutical companies offered us. It was a very unique kind of problem-solving process that we went through using the formula for success, which is outlined in this book.
And that formula for success can be used in a lot of other things.
Yes,
I know that
can.
again, there are just so many components to this book, and as I've been working with Adah, I learn more and more all the time about how the way that she wrote it was really designed to help people in a lot of different ways. What would be your response, Adah, to people out there who say, what are we going to do about this? I'm a citizen, and I just feel powerless. What do you say to people like that who say, hey, you're going up against the government, pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry, the people that you call the chaos cohorts? Where's my power going to come from to be able to go up against these people?
The first thing that I would say is that, and the most important thing that I would say is that you've got to get a backbone. You've got to become empowered. And this book teaches you how to become empowered, how to strengthen yourself so that you know that it's possible, because we can write our own agendas. We need to stop letting them write agendas that make us suffer. We need to stop doing that. We, the people, need to take back our power. And this book teaches you how to do that.
And that's, I think, so important, and why I would highly recommend to anyone out there is that you pick up Patient or Profit, Where is the Love? It's just because of not only the fact that it's a compelling story about what you've personally experienced and a lot of other people have, but I think it's a part of the scope of where our country is right now, where we are in a stage of, are we going to be empowered or are we not going to be empowered? And that we can solve these problems as people if we step into our power and embrace principles that can help everyone, and a lot of those are presented in this book.
Mm-hmm. Guy, one thing I would like to say is that now we are in the process of hearing a lot from politicians, and we're in the process of hearing a lot from people who would be campaigning for different political offices and so on. Nowhere have I heard anyone say anything about the prior authorization process. They're talking about having access to many options in terms of health care insurance policies, and that's okay. They're talking about lower prices, and that's okay. But to me, the most important thing that I'm not hearing anyone talk about, that I would love to hear someone talk about, is prior authorization. Because it doesn't matter how many options you have access to. It doesn't matter how low the fees are for getting a health care insurance plan. If you don't have barriers, or if you don't have the prior authorization barrier question dealt with, this transcends everything. This crosses everything. And I'm not hearing anyone talk about that. So legislative action. If the people that are courting you to cast your votes for them are not talking about prior authorization, okay, I wouldn't vote for them. This is what we need to be talking about, prior authorization. To me, this is the number one health care question to be resolved, and no one's talking about it. I'm just waiting to hear someone bring this up. Hopefully they'll get a copy of my book and read up on it, and this will educate them as to how they can incorporate this into what it is that they are advocating, advancing.
Patient or Profit, Where is the Love? Written by Dr. Adah Kennon. You'll want to pick up this book, and Dr. Kennon, where can they buy it?
You can get this through Amazon.com, books, or you can get it through my website. My website is www.247lightheartedcaregivers.com. lightheartedcaregivers.com. And I also have a blog. And the blog includes a lot of inspirational kinds of messages, motivational messages, and people can write in, share their stories. And Guy, I'll have to tell you, there's one story on there about an angel. And this angel appears to be very active here in the Las Vegas community. I'm getting feedback from people saying that they have witnessed this angel coming to them in their time of need. And I've got those stories on the blog. So you might be interested in reading about this, and look out for that angel. She's going around.
Well, be on the lookout for that angel, and I appreciate you for taking the time to come on and talk about your book today. And I appreciate all of you for tuning into the Guy Dawson Show. And again, you can check out this show at inblv.tv. And if you need help with public relations, marketing services, please go to our website, classycommunications.net. I look forward to broadcasting to all of you sometime soon. Stay tuned for the next Guy Dawson Show.